Well, helping the homeless get back on their feet is literally what our next guest has done. And Mahlum is the founder of a privately funded organization dedicated to use running as a catalyst to create self-sufficiency in the lives of those experiencing homelessness. And I spoke with her at Moore Norman Technology Center. For Ann Mahlum, a good run helps her cope with the struggles of life.
My dad's an addict. He went through drug and alcohol recovery when I was a kid. I've never seen him drink or do drugs. But then gambling got a hold of my father when I was a teenager and ripped apart my family, so running was always my outlet for that.
And it was on one of those runs she realized what works for her could work for others.
I was running by a homeless shelter when I was 27, a homeless shelter that I had ran by hundreds of times before, and didn't really pay attention to the people that I saw. But for whatever reason, in May of 2007, these group of guys who were hanging outside there early in the morning started to, wave at me, and I waved back, and that continued over the next couple weeks, because then I took notice to them and realized, why am I just running by these guys and leaving them there? Why do I get to be the runner and they have to be the homeless guys on the corner?
So Ann began a running club for the homeless that's now grown into a $6.5 million organization called Back on My Feet.
It turns out you can use running as an emotional change for people to change the way they see themselves. So what was happening in the first few weeks of this running club was watching people change their behaviors. They were starting to see themselves as somebody who wasn't homeless or undeserving or not capable, but instead somebody who was an athlete, a runner, reliable, a team member. And when you can change somebody's identity and get them to see themselves differently, only then can you get them to make real substantial change in their life. So this whole idea was like, these guys are going to be in this homeless shelter the rest of their life if they don't start to see themselves as deserving and capable. How do we do that? So we started to change their environment.
By providing clothes and equipment to help the homeless move towards self-sufficiency.
Back on My Feet has a success rate of 46% of moving people from a state of dependency living in the shelter to job training, employment, housing, and a lot of those folks are also continuing with education. So this was not just we want to help those who are experiencing homelessness be runners. We wanted to use running as a vehicle to help those experiencing homelessness not be anymore. And so we knew that we couldn't, claim that we're helping to eradicate this problem if we weren't actually moving people forward. So we track all of that data. If someone starts in our program, it takes us about 6 months on average to move somebody from this state of dependency into a place where they are working, where they have a real understanding of what their debt is, what their history looks like and how they clean up that history to be able to move forward.
All by taking that very first step.